I think we've fallen out of trust. With life. I think we've fallen out of trust with ourselves. I think we scrabble around, really not knowing who to trust, what to trust, and in so many ways we end up being led by mind, by thought, or by the carrot of influence, or some vague possibility of, can I trust this, can I not trust this? And then obviously, or often, we get let down, and that reinforces our belief that life and other people, God, existence, is not trustworthy. That's why I just want to sort of pick out and disentangle, if possible, shine a light on, shall I say, the issue of trust on the path. And I'm really talking about the spiritual path, of course. It kind of stems back really from childhood for most, for many, because we were born in many ways implicitly open, available, wide, clear, innocent, and in that sense our innocence came with a degree, a high degree, a total degree of trust. Without that trust, nothing can grow. It's like we're born into the bond of trust. We have to. It's innate. We have to trust whoever it is that's nurturing us into the world. So we have a high degree of trust when we're born. And obviously we know what's coming next, which is that trust is often either overtly, covertly, very often and usually and unconsciously betrayed. But we, at the time, don't know it. But that's the beginning of the end of trust. Betrayal is almost one of the secret, kind of dark, hidden feelings that we touch on the deepest journey, on the path. The fact that we may feel betrayed, and obviously we objectify that onto parents or caretakers or others who were given the responsibility of taking care of our welfare, of bringing us up. This is a deep issue. The issue of betrayal and trust. And that sense of betrayal, becomes a footprint, becomes a pattern, becomes a way of moving in the world. It's also part of the collective zeitgeist, collective cultural, religious, societal, moral conditioning. We're We hear it all the time. You know, don't trust anything, don't trust anyone. And that, you know, together with the conditioned way that we've been brought into the world, which is a sense of behavioural modification and suppression of parts of us that were unwelcome. Anger, even grief, expressions of who we are even at a young age. You know, it's a fine line because, you know, there has to be some degree of responsible caring with boundaries when we're young, but, you know, most parents, sadly, not all, but most, are unconscious and unaware, and also carrying their baggage around. So I've talked to this endlessly before, the repetition of karmic baggage and karmic patterns, ancestral wounding, etc., etc. But here we are already introduced to the idea of betrayal, and the idea of betrayal is don't trust anything. And yet there's the deepest longing in us, the deepest part of us. There's a very, very deep part within the heart and soul of each person that longs to trust. Ultimately, because the division between self and world is not as fixed as we think. We're not as separate as we believe ourselves to be, or as we appear to be. You know, we seek to trust ourselves deeply, and in seeking to trust ourselves deeply, we also seek to trust the world deeply. Neither of these two can we trust. When we come onto the spiritual path, really most cut off from our deepest intuition, cut off from our deepest feeling, loaded up with lots of beliefs and ideologies, or, you know, the heavy baggage of emotion, or, you know, deep sense of this betrayal or mistrust or doubt or cynicism or, you know, depression or anxiety, are all loaded up in the mental or emotional realm. And then we come across or stumble across some truth or something that touches us, and we maybe follow it a little bit, but eventually, you know, somebody says, or some teaching, or, you know, something doesn't feel quite right, which is not necessarily a bad thing, and then we're sort of knocked back into ourselves constantly. And so this is, you know, where this is going is, what do you trust? What is there to trust on the spiritual path? That's a question for you. You trust the words of a teacher? Do you trust these words? Do you trust an idea or a philosophy or some old ancient text that's come through? And what does that mean to trust? Because on a certain level, you know, when we look towards trust, it's not trust, oh, I'll take it as being true and therefore, you know, it changes something. Trust on the level of mind doesn't change anything apart from belief and opinion. And what we're talking about here is a much deeper transformation, call to transformation. And the reason I'm talking about this is because on a certain level, the restoration of trust allows us to relax into the goodness of who we are and what we feel and what we know to be true. Trust is where something innate is handed back to us, our power, our inner authority, our knowing, our deepest knowing. And so in that sense it doesn't come from somewhere else. We don't have to trust the appearance of the outside world. We don't have to trust the words of a teacher or a guru or a, some pontificator or anything. We don't have to trust the text. We don't have to trust a belief. We don't have to trust an ideology. We don't have to trust anything. All these things are sending us back into ourselves so that we come to know ourselves deeper. In that sense, it's a good starting place to trust nothing, but not in the sense that you just push it away blindly, but to actually use the interest in it as a way of going back into oneself. Say, what do I really feel about this? What's my instinct here? What's my root? What's my gut telling me? What's my intuition telling me? Not what is mine telling me. Not what's my opinion telling me, or my belief telling me. That's superficial. It's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the going back within oneself and resting in the now, resting in the openness of now, in the open field of being. In the open field of being, trust becomes innate because you've moved out of mind into a direct feeling sense, into the direct feeling sense of this moment. So when there's something coming in that's pulling you or calling you or interesting you, or you feel some call to it, check, double check, see, where does this land in me? Because it's all about that. It's all about where does this land in me? What does it speak to in my inner being? It's the way we come back into touch with ourselves, and coming back into touch, in touch with ourselves, begins the journey of re-establishing us in a deeper trust than the original trust that we had. Because the trust that we had back when we were a child was implicit, but it was actually also a trust in the outside, because we really had no difference, no sense of difference, particularly between the inside and the outside. We weren't, at 6 months or a year or whatever, 2 years, we're not so aware of the inside and outside, and we haven't got any baggage apart from karma that we've got to get through. So we're implicitly innocent, and implicitly innocent is implicitly trusting. In innocence we trust. But now we are aware, now we're older, now we've got the heavy baggage of an emotional body, and we've got the distinction between us and the outside. And so when we're looking for trust on the path, here we are giving it out to the outside. A teacher, a politician, or some influencer, or somebody, or just projected or onto the outside world. But actually what's being invited is that it sends us back into the inside world, because that's where we can re-establish a deeper trust. And as we get into a deeper trust, which is an intimacy, right? Which is a deeper intimacy with ourselves, with what we feel, with who we are, then the whole deeper sense of the mysterious, dark belief somewhere in betrayal starts to evaporate. The story of betrayal dissolves. And so we sort of start to come more into this direct relationship with ourselves. In the now, in the now. What do I feel? What am I feeling? So we have to get back to some sort of sense of our noble authority here. It's not for the chosen few, it's for you. And the restoration of trust in this moment, brings us into a deeper awareness and deeper relationship with our experience. Nobody else is needed. Everything else is just a pointer, pointing you back inside yourself. These words, pointing you back inside yourself. Not constantly expecting the world to give it to you. Because the world's, only going to say, yeah, but what do you feel? Not superficially. What do you feel? What do you trust? What's your deepest insight, awareness, knowing? That's the question. Bless you.